Welcome to Cultivating Courage, a podcast exploring fear, courage, and stepping into a life filled with purpose, connection, and love. In this episode, I chat with my dear friend Lindsey about finding your passion, pivoting careers, and having it all, even with a new baby. We also explore Lindsey's love of rom-coms. Welcome to another episode of Cultivating Courage. We're glad you're here. You may notice, if you're tuned into YouTube and watching the video, a slight change. Matt is not here this week. He's just not here, you guys. And instead,
he bailed.
And instead, well, you know, his personal business is his personal business. It's not mine to share. So, this week, I am joined by my very good friend, Lindsey. Welcome.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited. We were just trying to figure out before we hit the record button how long we've known each other, and we came to 7-ish years.
Yeah, a loose consensus of 2012 or 13, depending on how valid our recollections are.
Yes,
so.
Exactly. Yeah, there was no real formal
That's
look
close
back.
enough, though.
Yeah, I think it's close enough.
Either way, it's a long time.
Yeah, once you get past like 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Just general.
Yeah, I mean, we're still friends after that long. I think it's a solid.
You can just say we've been friends a long time, I think, at that point.
Yeah, you're actual friends.
Yeah.
Not because you have to be.
Right. You're legit friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you've made it past that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Right.
All right. So, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm like super pumped to have you on. So as our audience knows, and you know, this is like the first time I'm doing an episode by myself without Matt. And I cannot think of like a better person to like hold my hand through it.
Well, thank you. If it goes south, it's not her, it's me. So
That's right.
And then Matt will be back and it'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. If you never see Lindsey again, you'll know why.
Ratings plummeted.
So, maybe we start by telling the audience just like a little bit about yourself. Like, what are you up to these days? Where are you from? How'd you get here?
Sure. Cool. I'm from out east. I grew up in New Jersey and went to college in New York and got a law degree down in Philly and then was back in New York for the longest time until I was working at a Chicago-based law firm, but in the New York office. And then I met my now husband, and he and I started dating back in around the time that you and I started becoming friends. It's a little bit of a loose. We'll just say it's been a little while. And he has 2 girls from his prior marriage. So when it came time to taking the next step in our relationship and figuring out how are we going to go forward together as a unit? Are we doing this in person? Or are we doing this long distance? You know, it became quite easy when we decided we wanted to be together in person. He couldn't quite leave his girls, nor would I ever ask him to do that.
Yeah.
And so the logical next step for us was for me to move from New York to Chicago, where he's also a lawyer at the same law firm. So I've been here since the end of 2014, loving it. Miss New York a little bit, but I love Chicago so much. I hate the comparison of New York and Chicago because I feel like they shouldn't be compared. Different. It's like siblings, you know. You can't compare your 2 brothers or your sisters, right? Like they're beautiful in their own way.
That's right. They're all unique people,
and I love them both equally. I truly do. But they're just very different to me.
They're so different.
But I love Chicago so much, and been here for a few years. We about 7 months ago we had our little boy Emerson, and I've since left the lawyer gig and I'm home with him for now. We're kind of figuring out what my next steps are, if any. They might just stay with being Emerson's mom, and it's been a total joy and a totally amazingly welcome change of pace from that gig. So I've been up to that. My days are totally different, as equally as manic and crazy, but just in a very much different way. I have a lot more food on my clothes, and like my hair is less clean and that type of thing. But it's equally, if not much more rewarding, equally as demanding, much more rewarding. More hours. Yes. But I'm enjoying that and just kind of finding my way in this newfound role, you know, and kind of kind of reevaluating my purpose. And for so long, for almost 10 years, it had been this lawyer role. I guess maybe a little more than 10 years. Again, we're going to go with loose.
Yeah,
How long have you
loose.
been doing this? I don't know. About 10 years. Kind of a loose, just finding my new path and, setting goals for the week is a very different thing than it was, even just 8 months ago when I was still practicing. And it's an interesting time. It's fun. I'm enjoying kind of getting to know myself a little bit and not so connected to my identity as a lawyer.
Yes.
And I'm just, each day is a little bit different, but not at the same time. And so I'm just trying to figure out what's next, if anything, and enjoying, giving myself permission to just kind of chill out for a little bit, to the extent that
we had talked.
chasing after a 7-month-old is chilling out, but it is emotionally
it's
and
just
intellectually,
totally
for sure.
It's as demanding as it is. It's just you're using your brain in a totally different way, and you're also giving yourself a little bit of a break from climbing the ladder and always having to prove yourself and go
right,
and this gives you time that you maybe wouldn't have had to just take a break and think about, like, what is it that I actually want to do, and what would my ideal life look like from here? Like, now that I'm in this place, it might look totally different than what it looked like 3 years ago, what you had pictured.
Oh, absolutely.
And so then it's like, and it's nice that you have this time to really reflect on what it is you want. Like, do you still want the career? Do you want it at a full-time level? Do you still want to practice law, but maybe not full-time? Or are you like, oh, maybe I'm just like totally over the law?
Oh, exactly.
You know?
It's amazing opportunity and refreshing, really, to just evaluate where I am and to really look at it from a bird's eye view and say, okay, what do I want to be doing? I mean, when you're in the midst of practicing, or any other job, I would imagine, like, the next step is just what is the next promotion, or what is the next, and you don't think on a daily basis, what would I be doing with my life? It's hard to do that. I mean, you're committed to your job, and you're doing your responsibility and satisfying your role, and it's nice to, for the first time, I think, truly maybe ever, to be thinking to myself and asking myself this question, okay, what's next, and what's important to you, and what are you passionate about? How do you want to weave in your passions with what you do all day long, and whether it's for pay or for not, or whatever the case. And I feel very fortunate to not be under the pressure that many, if not most people are, where it's not an option to
stay at home.
Right. Yeah. So I feel very fortunate to be even having this conversation with myself, and now with you, about my next step. So I'm very cognizant of that and appreciative of that. But it's still just a very interesting and like an issue of first impression, really, for me, to use a law phrase. This is really the first time I've had this connection with myself of what am I passionate about? What do I? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what is so important to me that I want to either spend my days and nights doing or not. And it's been really fun to explore.
Yeah. So where are you at with that? Like, what's come up in that process for you?
What's come up really the past few months have been mostly, once I, kind of healed from being pregnant and giving birth, and adjusting to, not having any sleep and that type of thing, which everyone always warns you about. And you're like, yeah, cool story. I'll be different. I'll be able to sleep. And turns out I don't. But no, it's more just, so that was the first few months. And now I'm just kind of getting into a routine of just kind of figuring out what both of our schedules are. Yeah. And it's been so much all about the baby, and I can't turn my back for 2 seconds. So it's hard to really identify, what's so important to me. I think I've been focusing, for better or for worse, just getting myself back in want to get back in shape. I want to feel organized. I just want to feel on top of things. I don't want to feel like, in pregnancy, you're like, everything's happening to me and you can't control it, right? I want to be in a place where I'm like, no, I am controlling the status of my household and my body, and showering and doing my hair every day. And just, so I'm in this mode right now. I'm in this kind of transition phase of just feeling organized,
totally, like,
and
self-care
on top of things. And I think with that, the next logical step will be, what am I truly going to do next? You know, I'm really just right now in this mode of just taking care of myself, and obviously the baby and the house and John's other girls and him and, and our extended family and all that kind of thing. But just feeling my best, because I think when you feel your best physically and emotionally and spiritually and otherwise, that's when you're in the best place to have these conversations with yourself and other people, so that's been like the next phase for me of getting organized, and part of getting organized, not just with paperwork, but with everything, like my closets, so that's kind of where I am right now. And I think I have the most clarity and just the best vision when I'm feeling my best. And
like kind of like a sense of calm, like when everything is like in its place and like the way you would like for it to be, then you can just like take a deep breath and relax. And like, I think that's kind of the like ultimate self-care, and like knowing that that's what you need. 'Cause for some people, being organized, they might not care at all about that. Like for them, it's going to be taking care of themselves in a different way.
Right.
But
absolutely.
like, I think that's huge too, that like, this is what I need to feel my best and to feel like I'm in a place to like explore this in an authentic and like supported way. Yeah.
I think it gives you, for me anyway, that's when I have the most confidence too. I'm feeling the best about myself. So I'm not coming at it from a place of like desperation or, oh my gosh, I'm a mess, I need to do this in order to feel better. I'm already feeling well. And so then, you look more to what your attributes are and what your strengths are, and you're not focused on, I'm in a bad place, I gotta get out of this, so you're coming at it. I think the angle that you come at it from is important, at least for me, to
absolutely,
be like, I'm at the top of my game right now. Okay, I can conquer the world. I can do whatever. What's next?
Well, because then you can dream big. Like you really could like. So like if I were to ask you, and it's not hypothetical, I am in fact asking you.
Oh, great.
Like if you were to like picture life in 3 years, like what's happening for you?
I think what would be happening is hopefully something from a career perspective, something that truly gives you flexibility, not just because I don't want to go to an office or anything like that, but just I think these days, millennials are a lot of things, but in a lot of ways, I think they're very imaginative and philanthropic, and they have these, they think outside the box in terms of what's acceptable in the workplace and what's possible for a career.
Yep.
It could be sitting in your living room behind a computer doing something new and exciting and valuable, and it doesn't have to be showing up in a dark suit at 8:30 a.m. and staying there until 5:30 or whatever. So I think for the bad rap that they can get a lot of ways, I think that is one contribution that they've really given the workforce in general. So it's opened my eyes to the fact that I could be a full-time working mom, and it may not look like the full-time working mom that we thought of in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s. So I would hope to utilize the current climate as an opportunity to look and see what's out there that would give me that true fulfillment. 10 years ago, everyone was saying you can't have it all, you can't have a career and have a baby and spend time with both, and I don't think that's true. Now, I haven't quite found it yet, but I am on a mission to find it. And I do think it's possible to find something that I'm passionate about and devote substantial time to, and also be able to be present physically and emotionally and otherwise with the baby. He'll be a toddler then. Hopefully he keeps growing. By then,
he will be,
3 years from now, he will be 3. So it's one of those things that I see when people say things like you can't have it all, I see that as a challenge. And so I see the next few months and couple of years as an opportunity to just find out how I could have it all,
figure that out.
So, and I think that's attainable. I think I'm not the most artistically creative person, but I think I could be thoughtful enough to come up with something
problem
that
solve. And like, I think to a certain extent, you know, if you don't think of yourself as creative, I'm sure you think of yourself as a problem solver.
Right.
And like, that's kind of what this is, right? It's like a puzzle. It's a problem to be solved.
Right.
So you might think creatively about how to do it. But if that seems intimidating, like, oh, I have to be creative about it.
Right.
Like, well, it's just a problem to be solved. And
Yeah.
like, you know how to do that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's how the issue is presented.
Yeah,
Right.
how
Yeah.
you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, if I have to be creative about it, I don't know if I can do that.
Right. That's not my skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to bow out and
Yeah.
that and kind of cower a little bit. But
Yeah.
you're right. If I look at it more as, okay, there's options out there. Fine. Here's your problem. Find them, you know, identify them. And, you know, that's a means of arriving at the same point, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about law in general?
You know, it's interesting because when I went to law school initially, I was not that girl that had dreams from when they were 5 of being in a courtroom and being a lawyer, you know, so it's not like I arrived at law school or the practice of law by that, you know,
like
initial,
a passion and enthusiasm.
Just to be honest, you know, for better and for worse, you know, I arrived there because I was in college and I knew I wanted to do something academically and intellectually challenging to me. I wasn't quite sure what that was.
Yeah.
I knew that with the practice of law, you could go in pretty much every and any direction.
Yeah.
So I thought I said, well, at least if I can get a degree, maybe that'll help me, you know, the next 3 years from ages 22 to 25, you learn yourself more, you realize what you're passionate about, and whatever those passions are, you can channel them in the legal field and be in a better position to support yourself and have a good career. And as it turns out, I graduated in 2008, which is one of the biggest recessions ever. So
congratulations.
Yeah, not a great time to graduate law school or any school of any kind and have a rewarding career. So it turned out that I accepted the jobs that were available and presented to me. Not necessarily, it was insurance litigation, not exactly what I think any child dreams about.
I'm going to grow up and do insurance litigation.
Yeah. So it turns out, though, that it's interesting you say that about problem solving, because what it did was present me with all these fact patterns and situations that allowed me to hone those skills of problem solving, and I enjoyed it, and I liked doing that. So it was fulfilling to the extent that it was tapping into my need to really challenge myself and explore and obviously, of course, help people and serve your clients, and that, you know, that was all very you know, noble and important to me. That said, I can't say that I was living and breathing for it, and my emotional well-being was connected on a deep level to
the work
that I was doing. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, law, you can do anything and everything. I think if I were to go back into that field, it would be something that I'm truly more connected to. Which begs the question, I'm like, what are my true passions? Yeah. You know what I mean? My real passions in life are my family and friends and food and, you know, and travel. You know, how do you equate those to a professional practice, especially in the legal industry? I'm not sure. You know, like to be candid, I'm not sure.
There's got to be a way. I mean, like, even as simple as like being in-house counsel for a big hotel chain or like airline.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you travel a lot, then like, all right, you got a sweet deal on hotels when you like want to
no,
go
that's
on vacation.
True. That's true.
Like, that's probably a very simple solution to the problem. I'm sure there are much more. Audience, if you have ideas for Lindsey, let us know.
Find me
if you're more creative than us.
Well, it's true, because
like, you know, there's got to be ways.
I would think so too. And I always would, when this question would get presented to me, mostly by myself, I would just fall back on the whole line of, well, I work to live, I don't live to work, because it was a safe zone of justifying not being so passionate about the nitty gritty of what I was doing. So I'm like, you know what, I'm working to live. It supports my lifestyle. I it's flexible enough where I get to see my family, and that's what I'm passionate about.
Right.
You know,
but you never really took it a step further to
right.
figure out what those passions.
I think I was skirting the issue a little bit, and because it was a phrase I didn't come up with, I'm like, well, this is a thing. You know,
right.
do you work to live or do you live to work? Like, you pick one, and I'm picking this one. But who says it can't be both?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think like for a lot of people, to your point, it's kind of, even though we don't label it as such, like it's kind of scary to like really think about, what am I passionate about? What do I care about? Because it's almost like we associate those things with like who we are.
Right.
And so if what I'm passionate about and what I really care about defines me as a person, then I need to be really careful about what I care about and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But like those things they don't define us. And so like if you can come at it more from a place of like, what brings me joy and delight? Like if I could spend every day doing these like 5 things, these would be the things that I would do. And then come at it from a place of like, okay, so like how do I turn that into a career?
Right.
Or how do I turn that into, you know, giving back or doing whatever? You know, it may be that you still work to live, but maybe there's something else you're doing on the living side that is connecting your passion and your excitement.
It's interesting you say that too about definition, because there's something about, at least lawyers, because those are the people I've spoken to that agree with this. We're so afraid of being defined. And I'll give you a fun example. So a colleague of mine, we were at dinner one night, and she was saying she works for a huge law firm, and annually they get all the lawyers together, and there's probably about 1,000 of them.
Sure.
And they get them together in this convention, and they do this personality test. And every person is a color, and there's only 4 colors: blue, green, yellow, and red.
Right. Sure.
Some
whatever
primary color.
Yep.
Okay. And everyone goes into this person. She was saying that everyone goes into this personality test saying, I'm not a color. Are you kidding me? Like, you can't box me into this color. You know, sure enough, everyone turns out to be
and they're like,
a color.
Oh my God,
and
it is my color.
I'm a blue. Like, I am a total blue. And for some reason, we all resist being put in this box. But then when we see the box we're put in, we realize it's kind of true. Well, maybe that's true.
Right. And it doesn't have to be all of your personality. You know, it's not like there might be parts of you that are a yellow.
Right.
Not blue.
Right.
You know, you don't have to only be blue. But I think recognizing that like you're a blue to a certain extent can help you then like focus in on what you're good at, what your like ideal skill sets are, what it is that you do truly enjoy.
Yeah, it could be a net positive, you know what I mean? But it's so funny, why is it that we resist being pigeonholed? I guess we don't want to be predicted. We don't, you know, and we work with jury consultants. Well, we did when I was practicing law. I used to. I currently do not work with jury consultants.
Just for fun in your free time.
If they could predict my 7-month-old's behavior. But it'd be amazing because they would see the jury panel based on the questionnaires. If any of you have done served jury duty, you would know, you know, they ask you some set of questions.
Yeah.
And from those very few questions, I would think they're very few.
Yeah.
The jury consultants will be like, all right, here's who you want and here's who you do not want on your jury. And they peg these people.
Yeah.
Just by reading
like 4 or 5 questions.
Factoids from them. And they're spot on.
Yeah.
And we're always so reluctant to think that their insight into
could be that simple.
Right. Because we're like, no,
we are so complicated.
We are good lawyers. So we are going to teach them and we are going to educate them and change their minds. She's like, you're not.
Yeah. She's
no,
like,
you're not.
it doesn't matter how persuasive you are. This is how this type of person thinks.
And like, to the same point, that would just irk me in a way. Because I'm like, you can't predict people. You're not all the same, whatever.
Well, because if she can predict the jury based on those 4 or 5 questions, then she can do that to you too. Right. And you don't want to be simple.
Right.
You're complicated.
Right.
I'm complicated. I have many thoughts on many topics.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't know who I am based on 4 or 5 questions.
It's taken me some time though I think about this all the time. I'm not sure why I'm so stuck on this, but I am. But it's taken me time to realize maybe it's not such a bad thing to just simplify and not be so, you don't need to be so complicated. Everyone's unique and everyone's different and has different passions and the whole thing. But it's okay to just be passionate about, you know,
whatever it is you're passionate
your
about.
family and whatever.
And travel
and just keep
and
it
food.
simple. Like it's, that's okay.
I think that, I mean, I shouldn't say I think, because I haven't really thought that much about this until right now that we're talking about it. But like, I wonder if we're complicated, and I'm using air quotes for those of you listening and not watching. I wonder if we think that we're complicated because we're trying to be so many things to so many other people.
Right.
But like, if we really only focus on what it is that we want to be to ourselves, then that list and those complications shrink down considerably.
Right.
Right?
Which
because
is,
I think that we think of ourselves as these complex beings. But like, why?
Right.
Are you complicated for yourself?
Right.
Or are you complicated because you're trying to like keep up with your neighbor? You're trying to like be this, you know, whoever you're trying to be at work, and then you're trying to be this other person at home, and you're always thinking about like, well, what is so and so going to think? And I need to do this, like, because I need to keep up with everybody else around me.
Right. Are we putting this pressure on ourselves to be so complicated and dynamic?
Right. And you're doing it
be
for
very
other
interesting
people. You're
without
not doing it for
being
yourself.
so, again, air quotes, complicated. Right. And that's been part of this exercise that I've been going, you know, back to the beginning where we started, like just figuring out what am I passionate about, what I want to do. And my passions are very simple. Yeah. And I'm not that complicated. You know, it's
me neither. Turns out.
I want to be around the people that I love and that make me happy, and I want to laugh every day, and I want to feel good physically, and I want to see new places, and just that's kind of it. Like, it's not all that complex,
right?
You know, and that's been kind of a nice. I guess I'm having this realization like right now.
Yeah, totally. It happens sometimes on this show.
I was stressed about it, and now I'm no longer stressed about it. I'm just going to embrace it. I'm just going to go with it. Like,
I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, when you're just true to yourself, when you kind of can tune out the outside world and these expectations that we think are being placed on us.
Right.
And we really just say like, there's no expectation on me other than what I'm putting on myself. So if my expectation of myself is to spend time with those that I love, try new things, see new places, like, and those are the expectations of me, then I'm going to be pretty happy and content. You know, probably not all the time, but mostly if those are the things that make me happy, and that's what I'm going after.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Why not? Yeah. Doesn't have to be more than that necessarily. You know? For me, for other people,
right? Other people, other passions,
and they, you know, have to be going all the time, and they have a different set of, you know, intellectual or emotional or whatever needs, you know, or desires, you know, and then that doesn't work for them. But
and that's totally okay too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the great thing about being a blue or a red or a yellow or a green.
Right.
We're not. I mean,
or whatever color. I really have no idea.
Purple.
There was 4, I think.
Roy G. Biv, Taste the Rainbow. But like, yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing too, is your passions don't have to be my passions, but it doesn't mean we can't be great friends. And I think the other thing too is that you're saying like, oh, my passions are very simple. But if that's what you're passionate about, the way that you talk about those things, and like when you meet new people, like that comes through. And so I don't think other people would necessarily find your passions simple, because if you're excited about it and you're talking about like the next place you want to visit, or the place you just came back from, and like the experiences that you had with your family while you were traveling there, when you've had that experience from this place of like self-realization of this is everything to me,
right,
then people connect with that in such a just soul kind of way.
Right. Because if it's your true passion, is genuine, right?
Yeah.
So then it inspires other
like
people to be genuine
like
about whatever they're so passionate
and like
about.
hear about it.
And so it just, and they contribute they feed off of your energy and they contribute what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And then it becomes just a very real, authentic conversation. I mean, how many minutes have we stayed up till 2 a.m?
Yes.
Hanging out, just talking. And the next morning, John will say, "What'd you guys talk about?" I'm like, "I don't know. Everything, nothing, everything."
Yes,
Both.
everything and
in
nothing.
Between.
Yes.
It's just because we just, not necessarily do we have different passions, but we're different people, and different things make us tick,
different perspectives. And like, I love hearing like your perspective on things because it's often different than mine. And it's just great. I think it's also nice when it's a safe space too.
Right.
Like when you're with somebody that is kind of open enough, dare I say courageous enough to like own their truth.
Cultivating their courage, by the way.
Exactly. I work it in when I can. So I think though, like when someone is willing to share and be just totally open about their passions, because that can be kind of vulnerable for people.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, for me personally, and I've talked about this in several episodes, like the fear of judgment is like very real and strong for me. And so anytime I'm willing to share what I'm excited about, what I'm working on, what I'm passionate about, like in this moment with someone, it's a moment of vulnerability for me. But I think it creates the space for then that person to respond in a similar way.
Right.
Yeah.
I think honesty and vulnerability are on the same vein, on the same, spectrum. And when you feel like you're having a conversation with someone, or if you're having a conversation with someone and that person or you are not being honest about it, you sit there and you realize, like, why am I having this conversation? This is like, we're skirting around issues and pretending like other facts that we know of are part of the history didn't happen or aren't part of the conversation. Yep. It's so just inauthentic and not satisfying, nor is it what I strive for in any relationship. And when I recognize it happening, I ask myself, I'm like, am I truly friends with this person? Is this the basis of our friendship? Like, what is our friendship? Right. Is it just having a drink every now and then and pretending
and like surface catching up sort of thing?
Yeah, because it's a little discouraging, to be honest. It's not fun. It's not rewarding. It's not how you want to. You don't wake up the next day being like, that was the best. Yes. You and I wake up the next day. I often am saying that was not the best because I feel not great because I had 5 hours of sleep because we decided to solve the world's and everyone's problems. In an evening / morning.
Yes.
But I'd much rather feel.
Yeah, that way.
Tired.
Yes. Yeah.
And fulfilled.
Then,
oh, wow. Okay, that was a fun hour. And
look at the time. Gotta go.
Time to go.
Have you ever thought about in those moments, like saying like, let's cut to the chase? Like, let's like get real for a minute.
I'm so tempted to do so.
What holds you back? What holds you back from doing that? Because sometimes I want to do that and I don't. So I'm curious what holds you back from doing that.
So I think putting someone on the spot and making them uncomfortable. So making, I feel like I'm quite open and honest about any issues I've had and I'm willing to share. And when I think that I'm tempted to say, can you cut the
BS?
Yeah. It's because they are uncomfortable sharing what is upsetting to them. And so I don't want to make someone confront issues or talk about them if they're not willing, if they're not already sharing them, then I feel like, okay, it's not my place to make them do so.
Yeah. To put them on the spot.
Right. Because, I'll be friends with this person and she doesn't want to say something. I'm like, okay, well, she obviously doesn't want to talk about it,
But what if is she willing to talk about other stuff and just not this one thing, or is it everything? You know what I mean? Like if it's a situation where every conversation you have is always surface level and it never gets beyond that, like, it's interesting because I don't confront them either, but it's kind of like, I sometimes wonder, are they thinking the same thing?
Right.
And are we both just showing up out of obligation when they don't want to be here any more than I want to be, but neither one of us is like willing to boldly say, let's like evaluate our friendship.
Right.
Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
And like, are you getting things out of it? Like, tell me, like, what do you get out of our friendship?
Right. What do you look forward to or not about getting together? Like, is this
let's have
an
like just
obligation
like
for you?
just
Like,
put everything on the table and let's like figure out like, could we be spending our time on other things instead of like maintaining this not really super fulfilling friendship?
No, I think that's would be so awesome. Do you see that movie with, I think it's Jennifer Garner? It's kind of a silly movie where she isn't able to lie and she says everything that's on her mind. And
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
It sounds like my kind of movie.
It sounds like, I don't know if it's Jennifer Garner because I'm thinking it's very similar, like 13 going on 30, or if it's actually Jennifer Garner. It's that type of movie. It's silly. It's immensely satisfying on a Sunday afternoon when it's pouring and you can't leave your house, so that's all you have left.
Yes.
But it's an interesting
take
exploration, right? You know, like what would happen if we were just more honest with each other? Oh, it turns out per this rom-com, a lot of bad would happen, but
but it all gets worked out in the end, I'm sure.
A lot of good could also happen. So, to your point, I mean, maybe this will just be something that more people should be open-minded to exploring.
Yeah.
You know, like we were talking earlier, everyone's busy, you know, and it's a relative term. You know, I have 3 kids and 3 dogs, and someone could have, you know, a cat and not a job, and they feel just as busy as I do. Right. It doesn't matter. It's not a competition on who's the busiest, right?
Right.
Regardless, you feel busy, and you are busy with respect to your own life. And relative to when you were in college or whatever. Right. Like, you know, you're busy. So everyone's busy, right? Yeah. Everyone has stuff to do. So, you know, with that as the backdrop, I mean, if you go meet a friend on a Wednesday night, you know, you guys are busy. Everyone's busy. Like, you have stuff to do, and you want to be value added, you know? So how could you make it value added? Right. Maybe being a little more honest in those conversations would kind of set the ball rolling in a direction. I don't know. Maybe it would go in a good direction. Maybe it would go in bad direction, but
it would be interesting to see. And so with that, we're coming to kind of a close, and usually what we do is set a practice for the week. Oh, okay. And so what comes to mind based on just this tail end conversation that we were having is like making a commitment to have an honest conversation with somebody.
I like it.
Yeah. Are you in? Okay. Audience.
Do I have a week?
Yeah. So let's get like serious about it.
Okay.
Do you have someone in mind? Me too. It's not you, by the way.
Thank God, because I've been talking about this first, and it's also not you for the last 20 minutes.
Perfect. Me too. Okay. So, okay. So yes, by this time next week, we will both have had what might be an uncomfortable conversation, but hopefully create some clarity around a relationship. And we'll report back to each other.
Done.
We'll be each other's. We'll hold each other accountable.
I like it.
Okay.
This is what I'm doing for Lent. I have like 12 more hours to do something for Lent.
Oh, well, this
is it.
I'm glad that we were able to work that out
for you.
You're
here to help.
That's right. I'm here to help everybody. Next year, if you need ideas for what to give up for Lent, just give me a call. Yeah. I'm happy to help. Okay. So, audience, practice for this week is get real with yourself and then get real with somebody else that you need to have that conversation with, and go into it open and reflective and try to leave kind of the baggage at the door, because I think that's important. Don't confront somebody and make it like awkward. Just say, I want to have an open, honest conversation. Are you open to doing that with me?
Exactly.
And then see
be
where
real
it goes.
or go home.
Yeah.
I once saw a funny thing. Well, like, as in last week, saw a funny thing where it was like, go big or go home. I want to go home. I don't want to go big.
Yeah.
But go real. Go real. You do want to go real.
Yeah.
You don't want to go home. You want to go real.
Yeah, you do, I think. Okay, so everybody, this has been another episode of Cultivating Courage. Before I forget, sorry, you thought we were done. We're not.
Oh.
We all thought we were done.
Oh.
We like to give our guests an opportunity to share something that they've learned in their life that they think might be useful for other people.
Oh, that's helpful to know at this
At the
hour.
end, I know we
Why
spring it
don't
on
you
people
go
at the
first?
end. I don't have to.
Oh, funny how she does that. What's the question again?
So the question is like, what's something that you've learned that you would tell somebody else? Like if you were talking to the girls, like what advice about life would you give them? It doesn't have to be poetic.
It's not stand up for yourself, and standing up for yourself doesn't necessarily mean, bragging or to your own horn, but stand up for yourself in big times and in small times. Don't let someone walk all over you in a conversation, and don't let yourself get passed up for an opportunity just because you didn't speak up, because sometimes you have to, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Speak up.
Speak up.
Yeah.
Now for real, the end, y'all. You can find Cultivating Courage at cultivatingcouragepodcast.com. You can find me at thrivecoachingstudio.com. You can follow me on Instagram at RobinsonKristin, Kristin. Lindsey, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
On Instagram, Tylus, L-T-Y-L-U-S, and Lindsey Tylus on Facebook.
Awesome. All right, you guys, that's a wrap.